Now, for as long as you don't tick the boxes of all the minimum requirements of these micronutrients, your body's lacking something. And this tends to lead to cravings and poor health. Now, the single most effective way to maximize your health, well-being, and day-to-day performance is to maximize the amount of micronutrients that you take in through food.
Are you ready to live the life you deserve? Do you want to feel vibrantly healthy and reach your optimal weight without dieting while being kind to animals and the planet? Then you're in the right place at the right time. Welcome to Plant-Based Eating for Health with your host, certified plant-based nutritionist, Kathleen Gage.
Today, I'm thrilled to invite Serena Sabala, co-founder of Whole Shift Wellness, to the program. Serena is a certified plant-based nutrition consultant, yoga teacher, and fitness trainer who has studied the subject of nutrition for over 10 years and has a unique holistic approach to health and wellness. When she was only 8 years old, her father, a very successful business and busy entrepreneur, got really sick. Unfortunately, he didn't have the tools to take care of his own well-being and therefore crumbled under the pressure of owning a multi-million euros business. This led to him losing everything he had worked so hard for, with huge consequences to him and the whole family. As a result of her childhood experiences, Serena has developed an interest in well-being practices, which started at a very young age. Today, together with her husband, Eugene, she runs Whole Shift Wellness, a coaching company specializing in bespoke programs for time-pressured professionals. Their combined experience spans over 20 plus years and has allowed them to work with more than 500 professionals across 5 countries. Together, they passionately apply their proven methodology to transform the health and well-being of leaders from around the world who want to be strong, fit, healthy, and satisfied, and who aspire to continue having a positive impact within their organizations and the communities around them. Serena is also very passionate about bringing wellness to the workplace, since many people spend most of their waking hours at work. She believes that employees who are cared for care more, and that companies who put the well-being of their employees at the forefront of what they do are more successful than average. Well, I'm really excited today to invite my guest, Serena Sabala, to the show, who is a certified plant-based nutritionist. She got her certification through Cornell University, which is a phenomenal program. And she and her husband have Whole Shift Wellness, which is a wellness company that works primarily with professionals, teaching them about good eating protocols, primarily plant-based eating, or I should say plant-based eating, and what it can do for their productivity, for their business. And in light of COVID-19, what we talked about just having a conversation about today is really how people can minimize their risk through a plant-based diet. So with that, Serena, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And I know that right now you're in London. You're originally from Italy, which is great because I'm in Eugene, Oregon, and I know your husband's name is Eugene. So it's kind of like, there's all these connections. I love it. Why don't you give us some background on how you got started with your passion for health and for a really powerful way of eating? Let's start there.
So the seed for health and wellness was planted in me at a very young age, because when I was very young, my dad, who was a very successful entrepreneur and business owner, got really sick. And he was quite sudden, and he ended up losing everything he'd worked so hard to develop over the years. And I realize now that he simply didn't have the tools at the time to handle with the stresses of work and a young family and managing a team. And his business was of a creative nature, so the creative demands of the business as well. So he simply crumbled under the mounting pressure of his life. And that made me unconsciously very present at a very young age of how our health and well-being truly is the most important thing in our lives. And the moment anything happens in that area and we lose it, the repercussions go way beyond the individual's life, because my dad's illness ended up having profound effects on my life and the life of my entire extended family. So I think that's when the seed got really planted, was when I got to see how bad it is when somebody loses their health and well-being, and how affecting it is. And so from very early on, I developed this interest in wanting to understand, know, learn, develop all the skill sets possible to take the best possible care of myself. And the passion for nutrition also started probably in my teenage year, in a way that is really rather common, which is through wanting to diet and lose some weight as a young lady. And through entering that vicious cycle of like the dieting world, I learned a lot about what not to do and what doesn't work. And eventually I turned what was essentially a passion into a profession, and decided to certify as a plant-based nutrition consultant, because, and this was in my adult years, shifting to a plant-based way of living, I should say, not just eating, was probably the single most impactful decision I've ever taken revolving around my health and wellness. And I know that my husband shares the same viewpoint. So it was and it wasn't necessarily an easy transition or a seamless transition by all means, but it still remains to this day is one of the greatest things I've ever done. And it was so powerful that I felt really compelled to educate myself on how I could also educate others into making the transition.
Well, there's a lot of information you just shared with us that I definitely want to unpack. And one is how you and your husband started your business. First of all, how long have you been married?
We have been married 7 years now.
7 years. Okay. And your husband is in the business with you. I would assume that he's also a plant-based eater?
100%.
Okay. And when did you go 100% plant-based?
It was literally 2 months after we got married.
Oh, wow. So it's been about 7 years you've been plant-based, because I actually made the transition September 16th of 2018 and haven't looked back. A lot of what I find has been the greatest benefit is, one, how much energy. I went on a 5-mile run this morning, and I don't know what that is in kilometers, but it was long. And it was, that's part of what I do on a regular basis. I'm going to be 66 in a couple of weeks. And as a 66-year-old woman, this is not what I expected life to be like. It's much better. And I attribute it to a plant-based lifestyle. So for the people right now going through so much with COVID-19, the fear that comes with it, the health issues that come with it, what can you say to them about a plant-based protocol that would really give them more power around their health?
So, and this is a distinction that that really empowers our shifters when I explain it to them, because it's really kind of helps you shift your mindset around nutrition. We've got to realize that our body doesn't think in terms of calories. Calories are a man-made measure that allow us to kind of get a sense of what the food is giving us energy-wise. Our body doesn't think so much as calories as much as it thinks in terms of nutrients. So in order to perform all its daily functions, it needs a minimum requirements, not only of the macronutrients that we're all very familiar with, carbohydrates, fat, protein, water, I would classify as a macronutrients, and even fiber, arguably. But it also requires all those micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, and phytochemicals, which allow it to perform its day-to-day tasks. Now, for as long as you don't tick the boxes of all the minimum requirements of these micronutrients, your body's lacking something. and this tends to lead to cravings and poor health. Now, the single most effective way to maximize your health, well-being, and day-to-day performance is to maximize the amount of micronutrients that you take in through food. And plant-based foods are by and far the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet. So in making the transition, whether it's full or partial, you will inevitably boost your immune system and your day-to-day functioning, simply because you're taking in so much more of the stuff that the body truly needs. So this is one single way that you will see profound benefits. The second, which is equally as important, if not more, is that by avoiding the foods that really are linked with a higher risk of developing chronic disease, you are effectively practice the best form of medicine there is in the world, which is preventative medicine. So rather than thinking about curing a disease once it arrives, you're going at the root level of not even incurring the disease in the first place. You are preventing from even having the problem, or reversing in some instances is just equally as powerful. So now with the virus targeting specifically people, and 80% of people who got sick had a pre-existing health condition. So this is a staggering number. It becomes literally obvious to realize that the more you do to prevent disease of any form, especially chronic disease, the less likely you will be to suffer if you were to get if you were to catch the virus.
Well, you know, it's so interesting, because what I have really noticed is how broken our system is. And I speak of the United States, but really worldwide, we can see how healthcare systems all over the place were built on a house of cards, and especially in the United States. And with the COVID-19, we just saw it crumble right before our eyes. And yet a lot of people don't want to take responsibility for the fact that they actually can minimize their risk. So let's start with what exactly a plant-based diet is, because a lot of people don't really know what exactly. They think you eat salad and that's it. And you know, it's like I eat so much and I don't count calories. I actually dropped 35 pounds when I went plant-based, and it was over a matter of 3 months. I didn't do it to diet. I did it because of inflammation, but then I got all these other benefits. So when I tell people I'm plant-based, they go, "Oh, so all you do is eat salads?" No. So let's start with that. What could somebody expect in a plant-based protocol?
This is brilliant, because we run luxury wellness retreats in Italy every summer, and we very often we have people who join our retreats who are not plant-based, and they do not realize that they're eating 100% plant-based until somebody tells them. We had this like former military guy, so the proper kind of stereotypical macho man, who didn't realize for 3 days, and then somebody told them, "You know, you're eating fully plant-based," and he was like, "No, this can't be it. I'm not eating any salads," because we hadn't eaten salad for a whole 3 days. And that was his association. It's a very common association. And don't get me wrong, I love me a good salad, but you're absolutely right. When I transitioned myself with my husband, our diet, the variety in our diet went through the roof. We actually started eating a way more varied diet than we'd ever eaten before. So just to give some like very practical examples, first of all, any cuisine in the world that you can think of lends itself to making it plant-based. You know, I'm in Italy, and I would say probably the Mediterranean diet is one of the easier one to translate. But if you think about pasta and the various pasta dishes that you can make, whether it's with a marinara sauce loaded with loads of vegetables, or with pesto, or with beans in a stew kind of scenario, and all the side vegetables, you know, eggplants, zucchini, grilled, you know, baked. Those are some of our go-tos. But also Mexican food lends itself brilliantly to plant-based eating. So burritos, fajitas, enchiladas. I love a good Mexican feast. All you have to do is skip the meat. You have the rice, the beans, the guacamole, the salsa, the tortillas, all the veggies. Vegetable fajitas are one of my favorite. And then Asian food, I think, really lends itself super well. Noodle soups, stir-fried noodles, fried rice, there's a mountain of different things that you can do, even veggie dumplings and stuff like that. The world truly is your oyster. I think one of the things that I feel compelled to mention, because it was one of the things that it was a challenge for me when I first made the shift, is that you really got to transform I had to transform my approach to food, because I still at the time, I still believed in that kind of brainwashed notion that carbs are bad and that carbs make you fat. So when I first got an inkling that I wanted to try it and transition, my first thought was, oh my God, I'm going to gain so much weight from having to eat all those carbs, And I actually came to the point where I accepted the fact that maybe I would have to put on weight, but who knows? I'm willing to give it a go. And then I ended up losing weight and getting the best shape of my adult life. But so once you make peace with starches and with complex carbohydrates and realize that truly they are not the culprit, then really a whole realm opens up, and I have so much fun with food.
I think you really hit the nail on the head with that one about the relationship that we have to carbohydrates and the relationship that most people have to animal protein, because we've been brainwashed to believe that we need animal protein. And lately in the US, the factory farms shutting down because of the disease being spread there. A lot of people are being diagnosed with COVID. Some are dying. And when people really pull back the cover, and if they saw how these animals were treated, for one, I mean, there's a whole compassion issue to my reasoning for why I'm so involved in plant-based eating, and it's around the animals. But a lot of times people say, oh, I don't want to see it because then I wouldn't want to eat meat. And it's like, that's the idea. If you really knew what was going on. So how would you advise somebody who they're thinking of going plant-based and they're kind of sitting on the fence with it, but they're not quite convinced? They know they should, they know it would be good. They've done some research, but they have pressure from family. Maybe they have pressure from friends, because I know when I went plant-based, I was ridiculed. People made fun of me. And I thought, you're not the one who has to live in my body. You're not the one that's 35 pounds heavier than you need to be. You're not the one that's close to having a heart attack because of one age and the cholesterol and all of that. So how is it that you advise people on transitioning to a plant-based lifestyle in spite of the fact that they may have some family and friends who try to hold them back?
My suggestion, which is what I implement in my practice, is actually the opposite of what me and my husband did, interestingly, for a number of reasons. But I tend to, unless you're feeling strongly about it or you have very strong medical reasons behind your shift, I actually find that it is more successful to lean onto it gradually rather than doing it the cold turkey way, all or nothing. For most people, then obviously we're all different and we all have different reasoning. But with our shift, because many of our shifters come to us actually worried about the plant-based aspect of improving their health and well-being, and they tell me up front, I don't think I could ever be fully vegan or go 100% plant-based. And I tell them that's absolutely not expected or required in order for you to improve and get brilliant results. And I truly believe that it isn't, because I think the prospect of completely giving up on some foods that are linked to your childhood, to special occasions, to family gatherings, might actually put some people off or make the shift too overwhelming and confronting. I would start by just doing one day a week, or even one meal a week, to be honest. Maybe you start with breakfast and you just decide that you want to have a plant-based breakfast to start the day off powerfully, and you start experimenting with different ways of eating oatmeal or homemade granola or avocado on toast, and and you make breakfast your sacred meal where you kind of nurture yourself with tons of nutrient-dense food. And then as you find and discover and realize really how much fun it is and how much better it makes you feel, maybe you add a second day of the week or a second meal and you start leaning onto it. I personally would, as much as possible, recommend anyone to avoid confrontation as much as possible. Of course, you want to honor your decision and be true to yourself, but especially in the early stages when you're still trying to figure this out for yourself and you're still kind of trying to learn and open your mind to it, getting into an argument with someone might hinder your progress. So I would say keep a low profile where you can. Of course, enroll the people that are really dear and close to you by telling them truly why it is that you want to try this. But if you can avoid a confrontation about it, do so. Just say, hey, this is what I'm feeling like eating right now. It's just working for me, and I'm going to give it a go. I'm not imposing on anyone. I just want to try and see. I would avoid becoming an advocate right away just because you want to save your energy for getting it right for you and really establishing yourself on the path in a way that works for you.
Right, right. Well, and that's such a good insight and a good tip for people, because I tend to be very black and white, and yet I didn't try to convert, if you will, anybody. But as I got healthier and healthier, I would have people ask me, what are you doing? And when I would tell them, it was interesting to see the response, because some were very curious and other people are like, oh, I could never do that. And I said, well, I'm not asking you to, However, since that time, I've started the podcast. Obviously, I have a Facebook group. I have a blog, and I just over this past weekend announced to my entire list of thousands of people that I'm making the shift. I love the title of your business, Whole Shift Wellness, but that I'm actually making the shift from being more general with entrepreneurs in my service offerings to the markets that I'm working with, plant-based, vegan, and wellness. It's like I've really niched it down. And especially in light of everything that's happening in the world today, I really think that there's such a need to bring awareness to the power that people have within themselves if they choose to see it that way. And for those that are just tuning in, I'm talking with Serena Sabala, and she is with Whole Shift Wellness. I would love to find out how you decided to start your business, and tell us what your service offerings are for those people listening in.
So we specialize in bespoke wellness programs for time-pressed professionals. Between myself and my husband, we have over 20 years of combined experience in various different fields of the health and wellness industry. And we've had the pleasure of transforming the well-being of over 500 professionals across 5 countries. This has allowed us to develop a proven methodology to shift you to your most fit, healthy, and confident self within 1 year. Our shifts, as we call them, include all of the modalities that we believe are essential in order for somebody to, rather than just achieve change at the superficial level, such as losing some weight, to really transform their health and well-being at the root level. So that once they achieve the results, there is really truly no risk of them ever reverting back to the way things were, because they're simply a different person. They have transformed into a different version of themselves. So we don't sell change as much as transformation at the root level. And that takes a slightly different approach, a more holistic 360 approach that includes more than just working out and eating well.
Right. Right. Well, I know that you're also a yoga instructor, a certified yoga instructor, which I did probably 45 minutes of yoga this morning before I went out on my 5-mile run. And all of this is a result of plant-based eating. It's like, it's pretty phenomenal. And I've been involved in health and nutrition most of my life, but I've been one of those yo-yo dieters. And this is the first time in my life that I don't diet. I don't count calories. I don't worry about portion control. I just eat what I want to eat, and it's incredible. But with the yoga, and I would assume that you might work with your clients. Now I'm reading something into this, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe meditation and movement. Talk to us a little bit about that and how that is a nice complement to a plant-based lifestyle.
So fundamentally, what we've come to discover in our practice is that your optimal level of health and well-being looks a little bit like a tripod. It's like a structure with 3 legs. So what tends to happen is that all individuals tend to focus on one of the 3 legs, maybe 2 of the 3 legs, but nobody ever really strengthens all of what we believe are the 3 fundamental pillars of well-being in a very systematic and holistic way. And the 3 pillars are focus, food, and fitness. Now, for as long as you're only working on 1 or 2 of the pillars, you're strengthening 1 or 2 of the legs of the tripod. Well, what happens to a tripod if even just 1 of the legs is weaker than the others? It just remains an unstable structure. So, and that's typical of, and by the way, we work with highly successful individuals who are puzzled at why it is that they haven't nailed health and wellness. They're struggling to achieve what they know they can and should, or even if they do get there, it's such hard work to maintain it. And immediately they feel like they could wobble. They're stuck in the cycle of yo-yo dieting that you mentioned. And all of that stems from not creating a methodology, a structure that allows you to strengthen all 3 pillars in a very balanced way. So they're out of balance, essentially. For as long as you're only working out or only running or only pumping weights, or for as long as you're only eating well or as well as you think, but not working out or not taking care of, the focus pillar, the mindset, the meditation aspects, your greatest level of health and well-being will forever escape you.
Interesting. And how do people find you? What's your web address, and where would be the best place for them to get in touch with you and get more information?
Our website is www.wholeshiftwellness.com.
Excellent. Wholeshiftwellness.com. We'll put that in the show notes. And let's assume again that somebody is right there, they're ready to start, and they're really wanting to take control of their health. Give us 3 steps of what they can do that would move them closer to that outcome.
So the first and most important thing to do is to move gradually. What we see time and time again is we see individuals who are moved by this enthusiasm of wanting to get healthier and better, and they tend to want to change too much, too quick, all at once. It's I call it the New Year resolution syndrome. They're trying to do too much all at once, and they create this new regimen, which is so radically different from what they used that it becomes very hard work to sustain. And so eventually they get burnt out, they give up too soon before they can experience the results. So take small, incremental steps in a new direction. Like I said, if you want to try plant-based, start with 1 meal and start experimenting with 1 meal or 1 day of the week. But you've got to move gradually so that you don't start feeling overwhelmed and burnt out and give up too soon. Then you've got to motivate yourself. So you've got to really dig into your whys. Why is it that you're doing this? Do some work on yourself. Do some journaling. Really explore your deepest motivations, because those will keep you on track even in front of the hardest challenges, the peer pressure, whatever it may be that you will encounter on the way. And then you got to work on the focus pillar. That's the most important pillar, and it's the one that we see people underestimating and undeveloping the most. So really create a strategy that keeps your mind clean and balanced and equanimous and focused.
And how would somebody do that? How do they develop that focus?
There's a number of exercises. I would say, for sure, as much as you can, you want to outsource your accountability. So if you can work with somebody outside of yourself that has your best interest in mind, whether it's a professional or even just a friend, a motivator, somebody that can help you see things from a different direction when you get too stuck in your own way and your mind starts playing games and tricks on you. And you've got to constantly monitor your wins. This is one of the things that we've got to realize as human beings. We're motivated by success more than failure. So we gotta constantly give ourselves praise for the little things that we're getting right, for an instance.
Mm-hmm.
And you gotta really develop a relationship with yourself and really kind of get in touch with yourself. Spend some time alone every day to tune in and see what happened. Reassess the day before. Get up, make a plan for the following day. We're constantly going, outputting, and it's actually the most important work one can do is putting back in.
Right. And I think that's one of the biggest benefits that we've experienced from COVID-19 with the stay-at-home mandates is that people have a chance to really get to know themselves. And amazingly, a lot of people don't like themselves and they're looking for that distraction. But what a great opportunity to really dig deep and get into the meditation, get into the easy exercise to begin with. And now I know you work with a lot of companies. Are there any studies that show that a good, healthy eating protocol, whether it be plant-based or partial plant-based, some movement and exercise, does that help with productivity in companies and with their bottom line?
100%. I mean, and there actually are quite a number of studies, some of them done by some of our teachers from the eCornell kind of world, but productivity, nutrition and productivity, health and well-being and productivity are so deeply intertwined that I think the smartest company, it's no surprise that the smartest company, the most successful companies in the world implement incredibly successful health and wellness programs as a part of the workplace wellness. If you think of Google, Facebook, all the really successful ones have really taken stock on the fact that the two things are deeply intertwined. Nothing, probably other than sleep deprivation, nothing will impact your productivity more than your nutrition, more than you even realize. And so, immediately the first thing that we hear from our shifters the moment they start improving their nutrition is that their energy levels go through the roof. So
right.
The companies that are not taking active steps in that directions, in the direction of implementing health and wellness programs in the workplace, are really the companies that are going to be left behind.
And it's so evident now more than ever that that's true. And I've been talking with Serena Sabala from Whole Shift Wellness. And Serena, it has been delightful. Thank you for all the insights that you shared. And again, you can find her at wholeshiftwellness.com. That's wholeshiftwellness.com. And we'll put all her social media links in the show notes. So in closing, is there anything that you would like to leave people with, Serena?
I would say, don't wait. Just take one single, it only really takes one small step in a new direction to profoundly alter the course of your life for the better. And there is no better time than right now to get started.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And thank you all for listening in. This is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health. Go out, be healthy.
Thank you for your commitment to an ethical life through plant-based food choices. The kind of choices that are kind to your body, the environment, and most of all, animals. Be sure to leave a review and rating of the Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show.